Well, these are the hated classes, Druid and Warrior, right? So, get to try some Rogue out. I think Rogue's like the third lowest right now. Wonder it's not great. Yeah, it's number 8. Oh my god, Druid is at 38.2%. They did a terrible job with micro adjusts. Terrible job of Blizzard. As usual. I need to get some better music in here than this.
Listen, all this takes a lot of getting used to. And you do get used to it, after a while. There's 3 things I'll always miss, though. 1, not having to watch my step all the time. 2, forget about 2. And 3, I miss the songs. Folks from Caelondia knew how to carry a tune. Sure, we've got some songs on the old gramophone, but try and imagine what they sounded like. Playing to a room full of fine people.
Aren't you a peasant?
Unwinding at the sole regret after a hard day's work.
I guess peasant's supposed to be better.
Those were the days.
Actually, I'll check the win rates because I'm kind of curious. Yeah. Pretty good card quality so far. Here's where it falls off a little bit, admittedly. So Garrote is basically useless. Henchmen I don't like at all. I guess they're taking the Festa route and not really liking it. Thank you! 4 mana 6/5 is pretty good. Maybe I'm just gonna out of curiosity type these. Okay. Wow, Festeroot actually has a worse win rate by a lot, but it hasn't been played that many times, just 300. I mean, neither of them's a peach, you know. I'm gonna keep playing with Festeroot. Continue getting a sense of if that card's any good. Deal 3 damage to a random enemy, repeat for each of your pirates. I don't know about that. Both great cards here. Which to take, though? So, how good are we going to be at sustaining this deck? Is kind of a question for the Octobot. We've been playing with Guard a lot. We haven't taken Octobot in a while. Let's take the Octobot, see what comes of it. Cheap, this is good. Taunt minions. We don't have any taunt minions. Oof. Oh man, Napjaw Shellfighter or Ticketmaster? I think the Ticketmaster might be better. I like the Shellfighter though. Typically, you like Crab Rider here, but I'm wondering about the Chief Inspector. Just like to provide a little bit of heft to the deck, you know? A little bit of heft. Or maybe it should still be the Crab Rider. Too many 2-drops. Battlecry or combo cards. I mean, most of our cards are Battlecries. Maybe we take the Field Contact. Something to draw with. Do you like butter? I do. I do, yeah. Yeah, I like butter. Yeah, butter's good. Cool, cool. I'm glad we, you know, could resolve that. Kind of clear the air between us, you know. I do like it. Oh, Poet, this draft is looking bad. The Cows of Wisconsin endorse me. Oh, good. Good. I've never been to Wisconsin. I've been to Minnesota. They talk about the cheese over in Wisconsin. I guess we take the 3-mana 3/3. Womp womp. Guess another stab. We need some chunk in this deck though, or else we're super doomed. Discover. Sure, assassinate. Yeah, another assassinate, that's great. Death rattles. We got that big one. We got this one, that's pretty good. Although it might be a little slow for the blade. Is that it? Not really good enough. Jar dealer, I guess. More discover mech. Alright, so Primordial Protector, what is that? It's 2 assassinates, that's what it gets us. Pretty good. This is like, we've had so many spell light decks in a row. This whole meta hates me except for once or twice. The meta has been good to Blobby, actually. My runs have been very good, except yesterday was a pretty frustrating day. Just drafted a bunch of bad decks in a row. This trend continues, it looks like. Yeah, Etten's a big boy. Tomb Pillager works okay, I guess. Unless we want the ID. Yeah, I've taken much better to it than the previous meta. Rogue is kind of... Rogue seems kind of rough, though. Too fragile. Hey, Dark Dream. Hello. Hello to you. What's good? What's on your mind? What's on your brain? What's in your brain? Berserker's a big card. Guess we're taking Champion. I don't love this deck, but if we can win fast... maybe. My heart is the rough bark of yearning. My heart is the rough bark of a junkyard dog. What a coincidence. I'm doing well, looking forward to our Mega Arena Day. I'll be streaming all day today, as long as I can. How are you, Dark Dream? I'm at the end of, for Blobby, a relatively busy 2 weeks. Hi, Chaos. And I'm very relieved. I feel much more relaxed, knowing that I get to chill out for a while. And, I don't know, hope I don't have COVID. I mean, I've been in public places a lot this week. They haven't always felt the safest. But then again, I am a bit paranoid. I need to go to the Institute. So I'm going to look now. Whoa! Thanks for the host. What a peculiar thing to say before you leave a place. I need to go to the Institute. Cool. You can always take horse medicine if you got it. It's experimental. It's experimental chaos. Crab Rider, Jar Dealer. Nah. 2 and 2, 2 and 2. Had you contracted it, you'd be feeling it by now. How... What if I contracted it... yesterday? Like, how long does it take to start feeling symptoms? It's like... Isn't it like... 2 to 7 days or something? You're from Chile, cool. Very cool. What kind of institute are you going to, Dark Dream? I'm curious what you're heading out to do. Also curious what the play here is. I think it's this and... Dagger dirigible. Then they put down 1/1s to block the dirigible. Actually, I'm going to do this to preempt them playing the 1/1s. So now this can go into a 1/1, and Dagger can go into a 1/1. It's all good. Well, that worked out pretty much as planned. I figure try to get the discount now? Maybe? Wartbringer. I don't think so. Reading World According to Garp again. Have not read this. The WC, water closet, that's right, is a European thing, and he prefers to relieve his bowels separate from his washing, which I agree with, it seems like the way to build. I see, so... I haven't properly seen The Devil Wears Prada, Dark Dreams, so if you have another movie you'd like me to review, please suggest it. I've seen scenes from it. It seems like a fun movie. Uh-huh. So you're saying, like, a room for, like, shower, sink, and then a separate room for toilet. That way you're compartmentalizing your You're cleaning from your dirtying. I think that certainly makes sense. What if it's like an act of hubris, though, to separate those things, you know? Like an empire before the fall. We forget that our shit, you know, we forget that part of clean is dirty and part of dirty is clean. We lose touch with our most human aspects of ourselves. Flushing in the amount of particles your toothbrush get? Oh, it's probably a nightmare in there, in terms of particles and all that. I've taken to keeping my toothbrush in, like a plastic clippy cover thing, but I'm not under the illusion that that really helps. You know, it's safer for you to eat your toilet than your dinner. Didn't you hear that? Haven't you heard? I don't know if we really need the belligerent gnome. Maybe it would be fine. Ah, gotcha. I could probably screw up my camera doing that, huh? I'm sorry. Sorry if you're blind now. That's my bad. I'll understand if you don't resub if I've blinded you. This one's a really weak one. It came in the mail with my glasses, apparently. When I bought my glasses, they were like, hey, you want a free eye laser thing? So, alright, sure. No, you don't have to leave. I'm just saying you don't have to resub if maybe you're upset about me blinding you, or perhaps you can't find the button.
How can I help you?
Hit in, ambush, kill. Seems good. They gave me a lot of cards to discount. Or rather, they put a minion. You know what I mean. The thing does nothing through a lens. Screens can't transmit its intensity, however you can kill your camera sensor with it. I thought it looked pretty cool, actually. But I also imagined that there was some sort of sensor that I could dunk up by doing it excessively, so... We'll let that just be a pleasant memory. Not entirely sure if Spring Paw there is worth it. Thought it was free, so. Okay. 4 in dagger. Basilisk probably. Dagger Betsy. And we trade here to avoid any other unsavory trades. Look at you peasants, drown me 2+ cards. Feels good. Let's think for a second here. We want to send this into there. We could easily kill with the 5 attack. Ooh, we have a Lynx. We should take that into account. Alright, so let's deep run. Yeah, okay. Sure. Let's Lynx into here. D-I-D this. Weapon. And into there, and then face. There's news about China banning under 18s from playing video games for more than 3 hours a week. What is this, the 90s? Video games are ruining our culture. Honestly, we could Fester Root here, but I feel like some combination of other cards is just gonna be better. It also lets us be efficient with this trade here. Yeah, sure. Video game ban would suck. I heard a positive bit of news out of China, which is that they are banning testing for let me see if I get this right, 7 to 8-year-olds, I think? Because they're following the science that testing doesn't help education at all, and also can create an overly competitive and stressful environment for children. They just kind of blanket banning testing for at least a couple of years of early childhood development, which I think is a positive step for education. Our education practices are all basically both new and completely outdated. To ban on companies from providing services to under 18 except during certain hours. Providing services, like internet services? Frank, by the way. Hello. Matchmaking services. That's kind of funny. I guess that's one way to do it. What a peculiar thing to target. I wonder what the motivation behind that is. Don't say world domination. I'm not sure which of these to play. They both behave similarly in this situation. Is it also about early childhood development? Is it like the testing ban that they're concerned about kids being underdeveloped from playing too many video games? Is that it? Yes, it's about early childhood development. Well, you know, I gotta say, for, you know, as nefarious as China apparently is, at least they're acting to, like, help early childhood development in a way the United States never does. It might be wrong-headed ways to do it, but... I believe the children are our future, you know? They certainly know. Our dopamine systems are all fucked because of the internet and screen time. Kids even worse. Oh, absolutely. I do not envy any kid born in the last 10 years for, like, how they've grown up around screens and internet stuff. You know, kids have always been very, very eager to play with whatever toys they have at their disposal, but there's something particular about screen time and kids not getting screen time or begging for screen time, something monomaniacal and dead-eyed. But hey, new Paw Patrol movie out. Unplayable hand, what the hell? Gotta play the growth. Just so that we can plunder her. I'd rather them not heal, I guess. We need every little bit of damage we can get. Till you were 16, all you did was play, read book, eat hot chip, and lie. Dumb phones is like a boomer catchphrase. Kind of an insult. These kids with their dumb phones. Something that some boomer would see on Fox News and be real proud of using. Seeing these kids these days with their dumb phones. Hey, this is... Thanks for giving that back, I appreciate it. I'm gonna need that in a little bit. Stop it! Stop stealing my jobs! I sometimes wonder if the part of my brain that could just devour book after book is gone, it's like dead. I do sometimes wonder. Because I try to get back into reading every so often with some success. But that I, can't get in the same, like, tunnel vision rhythm. And I wonder if it's just simply gone. Ugh, yucky. Maybe my mom is right after all. She hates the internet. Oh god, double buff. Jeez Louise. Yeah. Yowza. Technology is fine as long as one knows how to use it. Yeah, like a gun or a rock. It's lethal when in the hands of people that don't, though. Unlike a gun or a rock? Yeah, I jumped on the examples too soon. Yeah, all the control is currently in the hands of big tech, which is a terrible place for the control to be. 6 damage. Yeah, we can kill it. That's good. Ah, I should have played this first. Dumb. Or we could shadow step it. Or we could swindle. Swindle seems good. Hey, we might get assassinate, right? Hell yeah. Even better. Yeah, we could have looked at this, actually. We could have also sent this into here. Playing a little bit too fast, maybe? A little bit too speedy? Couple misplays that turn. You would not give a gun to a kid, would you now? You wouldn't download a kid. I would only give a gun to a kid if they were highly trained to defend their classroom from school shooters. 2, 4, 5, 11, 12, 1 off. Oh wait, we have this. Yeah, we good. Alright, we're cobbling it together enough damage to win a couple games here. Not as dire as we thought, maybe. The only time I used the gun was as a kid at camp. I was probably a teenager the only time I used a gun. And the lives I took will be with me to the rest of my life. Oh no, wait, it was actually just a shooting range. The lives of those pieces of paper that I shot that day will haunt me. They're already selling anti-projectile backpacks in the US after all. Oh yeah, bulletproof backpacks, I've seen that. What a good idea. Totally humane place to live. Like... when I was a kid, going to school, all I had to worry about was 9/11. That's easy. I would not want to be a kid right now. You wanna play for tempo though? Yeah, I think we do. I don't think we want to take the tempo loss here. But against Warlock, it feels urgent that we just put in a bunch of damage. No! 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 Yeah, I would not want to be a kid now. Having to do these school shooter drills. And being, like, sent into the grinder during COVID. Seeing your classmates fucking dropping like flies. I read an article that upon the start of the school year, there were like over 1 million kids who were just missing, who were just gone from school. And people are like trying to track these kids down. Nobody knows where they... This is actually kind of bad for them. Like, they would have rather gotten the Divine Shield, I think. It's an interesting choice to use Quicksand there. I think not right. We could just do this now. Like, some of the kids just aren't being sent to school because their parents are afraid for their lives. Some of the kids have been pulled to other schools without doing the paperwork. Some of the kids are, like, doing homeschool. Some of them, it's unknown where they are or what they're doing. Some of them are certainly sick. But there's just this huge deficit of... And, like, schools are talking about, like, oh, we might have to cut staffing because there's so many missing kids. Love to be in this world. 4, 7, 8, 9. Getting close, getting close. An argument for just playing the chunky Berserker rather than slowing down with the Acolyte. Because I think we're very close to lethal here. Why is the assumption that most of them have insane parents? I think some of them probably have very cautious parents who would, like, don't know what to do with their kid and don't want to send them into the lion's den. Yeah, fair enough. Leave my peasant. Everyone's leaving my peasant up for so long. In my day in the early 80s, we had anti-nuclear drill. I never had one of those. Never had any of those. I learned about them growing up. The idea always terrified me. Like, being shown some, like, nuclear war instructional video. Like, cower under your desks if we're hit with a nuke, kids. That'll help. You gotta feel like you have control somehow. Yeah, we definitely had fire drills. I think that was it, though. I see your star. You left it burning. Might keep the Berserker. I It's a lot of self-damage as well. It bunkers and the whole shebang. Masks. Making kids wear masks in school? That's fucked up. This might give us something nice to play next turn. Like we could take the amalgam here. Play it on turn 2. Or we could play this on 2 and this amalgam on 3. You don't really have a turn 3 play, so that's probably better. Not the medical ones, mind you. Oh, like Halloween masks. Okay. I'm Freddy. In our nuclear wasteland, I need a spooky mask to defend myself. I'm Freddy in a gas mask. Like, how must this be traumatizing kids for the future? Like, to grow up in this environment and be... And for it to be clear that the world is trying to kill you from the get-go. And for a lot of kids, that's already always been the case. You know, especially black kids in the United States. I grew up a sheltered white boy. I didn't have to worry about any of this shit. That was a privilege, but like, I don't know, it makes me sad when I see kids wearing masks, you know. As a kid, it's a game. Yeah, but like, it has to, like, a school shooter drill, bulletproof backpacks, kids have to understand that this is, like, I feel like the game is breaking down. The kids aren't, kids are playful, but they're not stupid. I don't know. Might open the cages. Snake trap, maybe? Speaking of that, here's a fucked up thing. When I was a kid, the school I went to was a private school. Like a Christian school. In 8th grade, every year, the 8th graders would do like an Underground Railroad reenactment. If anyone doesn't know, the Underground Railroad is the name for the, basically the secret roads from the south to the north, where, slaves could escape, slavery. Yeah, well, you're not the only one here, Chaos, so... I'll make sure everyone's caught up to speed. It's important context for the story, because what we would do is reenact it every year. The 8th graders would. We'd try to get from one point of the school all the way across the school to the other point. And adults would play slave catchers and try to catch us. And it was meant to, like, teach us the experience of what it's like for these slaves escaping captivity. And it would be a teacher and the janitor who would be chasing us as slave catchers. And the problem was that basically my entire school was white. There was one black student in my class. So this is an annual tradition of a bunch of white students cosplaying this. No blackfacing, no, but like, I mean, how far away were we? If you got caught, you had to come back to like I think like a grave site or like a jail site, and just sit there for the rest of the... And you're trying to get to the border in the north. And that's one of those things that was like perfectly normal to me growing up, and that, you know, you look back on with horror. Okay, so we could make a big growth. 5, 9, 10, 2 off lethal. Let's never find out what that secret was. Many societies do fucked up things they consider normal. Yeah, every society does, indeed. And it speaks to the power of normalization because, you know, you could say it's common sense or it should be obvious to anyone that this is an inappropriate practice, but it simply wasn't. Because I was a kid thrown into this practice and everyone was like, yeah, this is great, this is fun, this is normal, and playful. And that's how... that's how invisible race awareness is until it's forced upon you. One trait of whiteness and white people is believing that just any given thing is there for them to have. The history of colonialization. So in this case, this story of racial trauma, my school, my class was just like, yeah, that's ours to have. We can play around with it for educational purposes and for fun. We do it really because it's fun. Oh shit! We fucked up. I was thinking it was snake trap. I didn't wait to see, but it was pressure plate. We might lose now. Probably still win, but damn. I was not paying attention. In Greece, they still have kids parade as if they're some sort of a fascist youth in honor of their national holidays. Five, 8, 9, 10, 11. Alright, so we need this to hit then. We'll put this out too. Just don't draw a taunt. I used to not only pledge allegiance... I'm glad we won that, because I really messed that up. I used to have to not only pledge allegiance to the flag in the morning, every morning, but also to the Christian flag and the Bible. We did 3 pledges every morning. They had us pray to God every morning? Like to yourselves, like in your head? Or was it like out loud for the class? Jack the what? Jack the what? One kid would say the same prayer in front of the whole school and you had to stand and be respectful. Okay, like a ritual type thingy. We didn't get a lot of spells. The spells we got are pretty important ones. 2 Wicked Stabs, 2 Assassinates. We'll dagger that, soften it up. I assume that we'll trade with the 1-1, and then maybe we Crab Rider to clean it up and play the other 1-drop. Overload. Cramps my vibe. I guess what do we need 4 mana for next turn? Let's check this.
Could have sworn it went back together.
Next turn's gonna be rough. We could Wicked Stab something for 3 damage. Could Crab Rider. I'm glad they didn't add anything to their hand, otherwise the Overload would have really hurt us because we couldn't Giant. Dirigible's good though. It's good. We kill this? What are the odds? What are the odds it hurts us? What are the odds? Lobby, do you watch Big Brother? 1984, classic. I do not watch Big Brother. I have watched quite a bit of Survivor in my life, though. I've heard people talk about the Big Brother fandom. My understanding is that there are Big Brother fans who watch the show as it airs. But then there are Big Brother super fans who, like, go to their website and check out, like, live feeds. Like, they have live feeds of the house, I think. I've heard. Is that true? That's wild to me. You've got a Clockwork Giant, too? Oh, I see. Well, I will kill. Could actually use Wicked Stab to kill, and then get the Berserker out. That's good tempo. Yeah, I like it. Pop. 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 And pop. Imagine if Orwell was alive, he would probably facepalm himself to death. It is funny how Orwellian the Big Brother setup has ended up being. We do have live feeds in the house for viewers to watch via paid subscription, of course. Hey, Rating Gnome. There's a real voyeuristic pleasure that I imagine that would come from that. Can you stop freezing my shit? Can you stop that? Maybe we should have assassinated earlier and just kept Wicked Stab for something like this. Using Assassinate on this is a little bit of a bummer. A bimmer. But worth it. Dagger? No, we'll Octobot. Meteor? Cause ain't gonna help you, son. You'll be sorry for what you've done. I want to see a dumb guy do something, but it's not me. Yeah, that's why I watch America's Funniest Home Videos. Watching all the seasons, seeing how the game itself has changed is quite unfortunate. That's sad to hear. Is it less interesting now? Like, how has it changed? Because if you watch Survivor over the years, in a way the game has gotten a lot more complex. As the meta game has developed, more and more people who have watched in the past start to join and are using interesting meta strategies and stuff. America's Funniest Home Videos doesn't hold a candle to TikTok. these days. Well, they basically, if you watch any new America's Funniest Home Videos, they're basically just stealing viral videos from the internet. They've kind of lost their... They've lost their reason of... Their raison d'être. The reason for being. Now that, like, Reddit and TikTok exist. Hi, Revid. I'm not on TikTok. I respect the form, but tend not to enjoy it. Can you not? Give me a break. I don't really see any need to play this. There's reason to put this out, and that we are decently likely to get a draw out of it. That's important. And this is a 4-4. That's relevant for pushing. Pretty bad play against Flamestrike, I guess. I don't think they have it, but... There's an all-black alliance where their fundamental strategy is to string along non-black people. Thoughts? Pro. In favor. Black folks gotta stick together. You know, we've built a nightmare world for black folks, and so... And then, because of white supremacy, we get pissed off when they band together to resist that world. I think, yeah, go for it. Exploit the shit out of your competitors. Hey, Wavefork! How long have you been asleep? Well, as far as my experience... Been between a half a week and a week you've been asleep. That's the last time I saw you. 4, 5, 5, 9. Yeah, we good. Can even do this. I love TikTok. It's the best way to get the freshest flat Earth theories. Hot off the presses. Pressed Earth. This deck is 6-0, huh? Yeah. What do I know? I've been doing these wild 4 AM streams to get my work done, but at what cost? Probably sleep, I'm guessing. I'm guessing that's the cost. You know, that's kind of what the white supremacy is white people and their accomplices banding together to structurally make life miserable for black folks and black adjacent folks. So, in a game, or not in a game, or in life, or whatever, an alliance of black folks pushing back against that, I think is fantastic. Some people might say, oh, what if white people did that? Well, then it would be shitty. It's different. Because this is an asymmetrical system. But to put it in Hearthstone terms, you need counterplay somehow. And you're only gonna get counterplay through banding together with others who share your plight. Solidarity. bit slow on that discover. But I wasn't sure if we wanted the stats or not. If things were reversed, how would you and everyone else feel? I feel like double standards are super unhealthy. But, so Gusta... Reverse racism doesn't exist. Because the way that racism came about was not that there were a bunch of races and that they were all equal and then one race decided that it was better. Race itself was a creation of white supremacy, used to dehumanize black people. This happened around 300 years ago in the United States. And it's structured basically how the entire world has developed since then. So when a bunch of white people, for example, band together to get the better of black people, well, that's just another day in the life of black people, you know? That's normal. That's white supremacy. But to band together against that is liberation. You see, there's a difference. When there's an oppressed class and an oppressor class, it's fundamentally different when the oppressors band together against the oppressed than when the oppressed bands together against the oppressors. And this is why Antifa is not fascism, and in fact is fundamentally different than fascism. Even though right-wing media positions Antifa as just the same as fascism, because they're both extreme worldviews. Fascism is, I want to hurt and do horrible things to oppressed people. Anti-fascism is, I want to make them stop doing that, you know? So it's not about we're all equal and we should treat each other equally, it's about there's a tremendous inequality that has occurred, and we have to acknowledge that, and we can't pretend like it's not there. Really not sure what the play is here, but at least the 4-4 doesn't die to the 3-2. The original motive is fine because I don't think there has been a black winner, and there are also typically 3 or fewer black people in the game. Of course, people will look at it and call it racist, while technically it's not because racism has its basis in prejudice and not discrimination, right? But my wife and I agree that there aren't any issues with the fundamentals of trying to ensure a black winner. That's helpful context. And the point that I think that these players are driving at... I haven't seen the show, so I don't know, but... The point is to kind of illustrate and demonstrate that asymmetry that I'm talking about. So why are there usually typically 3 or fewer black people in the game? Why has there never been a black winner? It's not coincidence. It's not because none of the black players have been good enough to win. It's because of structural racism. And so, if we say that... Let me read Frank's comment. If the positions in the game were reversed, it wouldn't change the positions in racialized society, so it's not a simple matheme. Yeah, white people banding together against the black contestants is the normal. So it's kind of what has been happening the entirety of the game, and the entirety of modernity. And we just don't see it as such because we don't... As we were discussing earlier, it's hard to see things that are normalized, right? What's normal is invisible to us. And so, black contestants getting screwed over season after season, we see that as normal because black pain and black plight, that's on the day-to-day, you know? We're used to white supremacy. But the moment that they take action to change that disparity, people are like, oh shit, what are you doing? You know, that's discriminatory to band together against white people, you know? So saying like, oh, if the sides were reversed, wouldn't that be bad too? That's believing that you're beginning from a place of neutrality, which we aren't. Wicked Stab Berserker was another play I was looking at. This 4-1's pretty annoying here. The Wicked Step would have taken care of that. But it's nice to get the Claw Machine buff, I guess. Well, I haven't had one of your sandwiches, Wavefork, but I believe you that they're delicious. You know, a reversal of the power dynamics is always going to make some people feel uncomfortable, and even deeply upset. That's okay if those people are ensconced in white supremacy. They can feel uncomfortable, and maybe it'll even lead to growth for them. And they could be upset, but we should ignore that. Just like we should ignore Nazis demanding equal rights, you know? Because when Nazis demand equal rights, what they're really demanding is the excuse to continue oppressing people. Or the ability, the capacity. Maybe we do these two. Swindle, stolen, steal. I wonder if we could find a good weapon. Swindle's fine. I don't want to find all of our spells, because we do have a Primordial Protector somewhere. At what point can human society not have inequality? Based on your logic, then the endgame is not to achieve equality, because some people will always feel oppressed. It's not about feeling oppressed, by the way. That's not the right language, and it kind of detracts from the experience of oppressed peoples. Because saying that they feel oppressed originates the oppression in their feelings, but that's not where it comes from. It comes from material conditions of their oppression. Some people always feel oppressed, so it will always be about favoring one race over the other in perpetuity. So, your comment assumes that race exists outside of oppression, but race as we understand it was a modern invention built on an unequal oppression. So as long as race proper exists, you're right, there will be an unequal dynamic. In the meantime, all we can do is try our best to level the playing field. We're super boned. That is a big finale. Grand, you might even say. Alright. I guess we should have checked to see what weapon we could have gotten. I'm not gonna click on that link, Ulfriser, because I don't know who you are. If you wanna stick around and get to know us, you can, but suspicious link. Fair enough, but this is a game show. How does this help to change anything? A black person will probably win the game, but anyone with a brain will just realize that it's because of the Black Alliance. I don't understand. This doesn't really change anything. Well, for once, it's black people banding together to get a black person a victory, rather than white people banding together to get a white person a victory, right? That's a change. And it's broadcast to tons of people all over the world. And they will see that, and they will see what collective action and that sort of thing can accomplish. So maybe it can cause wider change. You know, that's like saying that sports players should just stay in their lane and not protest. Because it's just a game, and who are they to... But, you know, if you think about this as an act of protest, one of the functions of white supremacy is to delegitimize acts of protest, to say, oh, this is not legitimate, they should find a better way of protesting. Usually when people start saying that, that means that it's working, and that it should keep happening. So the fact that we're even talking about this now means that it's already changing something. It's like out in the world, it's in the discourse, and we're having a conversation that we wouldn't have had if these people didn't decide to make this decision. You know, sports is an excellent venue for protest, especially racial protest, because of how high profile it is, like reality TV, and how diverse it is, and like how many people are fiercely loyal to it, like reality TV. We'll try to save this to kill a weapon, I think, because Paladin has some really gnarly weapons. You know, you say anyone with a brain will just realize that it's because of the Black Alliance. That sounds like good strategy to me. And I don't think it makes the victory any less legitimate. Well, there's the weapon for us to kill. How? You know, media is very important because it shifts the discussions that we're capable of having. Media is really important for change. I have not heard about the disparities happening in Southern farming programs. But you know, it sounds like a complicated issue of the interfacing of class and race in that example. Racial justice will always be uncomfortable for white people because they will feel like something is being taken away from them. Because they've been living with this white privilege, or whatever word you want to use for it, their whole life. They've been living with advantage. But it's actually good for everyone, including white people, to dismantle white supremacy, because white supremacy fucks us up too. It's just we have to take the leap of faith to realize that. Hopefully we can eventually move past race as an ideologically necessary category. But yes, there isn't an endpoint where we achieve utopia. It's always about taking up the position of the marginalized or excluded in a dialectical process of making our community better. Yeah, we gotta look out for the people who are dealt a shit deck, most of all. Rather than the people who are dealing them that deck. Seems like it'd be more unifying to get people to achieve equality. Trying to achieve utopia, as you call it, with everyone having the same rights, than to be analyzing how oppressed each group is at each moment, which people don't agree on, and then trying to give those groups additional benefits. The goal is universalism for sure, the trick is seeing who is left out and fighting for their inclusion in equality. Yeah, Revid, it's not, you know, it's not like a randomly changing thing, racial inequality. It's not like, oh, today it's black people who are oppressed, tomorrow maybe it's white people. Ever since the inception of race in the United States, as we understand it, 300 or so years ago, it has always been black people who have been getting the shit hand over and over and over and over and over and over again. Candyman is about this. I watched Candyman last night. So we gotta do something about that, plain and simple. And you could talk about ideals and utopias and all that, but in the meantime, like, we need to act decisively for racial justice. There's so many complex factors in our social positions that trying to achieve equality is a great idea, but if you're gonna approach that through colorblindness and say, hey, we're all the same, we should all be treated the same, you're ignoring all these very real factors that make our situations different. Like, if somebody is a black man who was raised in a ghetto, at the poverty line their whole life, and they're standing next to a white woman who was raised in the wealthy suburbs, and you decide for equality's sake you're going to treat these two people exactly the same as each other, first of all, you're deluding yourself a little bit, because your unconscious mind is aware of gender and race, and is making decisions and assumptions and acting on those assumptions. And second of all, you're not really speaking to the needs of each of these people if you're pretending like their needs are exactly the same. White D&D turns, white people have been living with a +1 roll on all their checks. I I don't think so either, but what if there was a white alliance stringing along a black friend? Everybody would be talking about it. I hate double standards. But that's not a double standard, Guso. You're just talking about the standard. Every other season of the show was what you're describing. And it was standard, so people didn't really complain about it, apparently. Because people are used to that shit. So, let me put it in as simple terms as I can. If you wake up every day, and somebody punches you in the stomach for 5 hours a day, and this happens for years, and then one day, you decide, I'm gonna punch them back, and you punch them for 5 hours. And people look at what you've done and they say, that's a double standard. What, violence is bad when it's happening to you, but you can do it back to them? That's pretty fucked up. You see the problem with this logic? If violence has been done to you repeatedly over and over again, and you fight back, and people gaslight you because of it, that's not a good thing. And make no mistake, generational violence against black people is worse than what I've described with being punched in the gut for 5 hours a day, arguably. And so, the response to that generational violence would be justified if it was far worse and more violent than teaming up against white people in a reality show. But even... Well, I'm not gonna ban you unless you say some unapologetically white supremacist shit. Yeah, we're just talking, we're having a conversation. It's been changing over the past 20 years. Asian people were brought as slaves, institutionally discriminated against, and now are treated as the advantaged, oppressing group. What? Asians are treated as the oppressing group? What about all the hate crimes against Asian folks in the past 2 years? It's like an epidemic. I'm confused about what you see. I'm confused about what you see. Same with Jewish people. Still hate crimes against Jewish people. In fact, there was a synagogue in my hometown that was burned down a few years back. There are many people besides white and black. Yes, that's true. But the reason that I am mostly talking about white folks and black folks is because as this book Racecraft explains, which I highly recommend to everybody, the inception of race as we know it was a white and black issue coming out of the United States. And from there, race developed to include people of all sort of different ethnic identities and fit it into our framework of how we understand race. But white people were always positioned as the oppressor, the landed class, the ones with the power. Black people were always positioned as the oppressed. And then other ethnic identities have gone, you know, through varying stages of being oppressed, depending on their immigration status and the point in history, and etc., etc. So yeah, I'm not saying that the only issues have to do with white and black people, but from a theoretical perspective of understanding race and how it functions, it's basically the closer you are to whiteness, the more privileges you'll have in the world, or the less oppressed you will be. Colorism comes into this. Bias based on somebody's skin tone. Featureism also comes into this conversation. Bias based on somebody's, like, stereotypical recognizable facial features. Did I say nothing has changed? I don't remember what I said exactly. The world has been changing the past 20 years, but we have not been fixing our problems with race. We have been repressing them hard. It's the common liberal perspective that every year we get better and better. I don't really share that. I think that that's a bit idealistic. I don't really share that point of view. Could put this out. Protect the 2-1. Just dagger for now. Oh. No, it does. No, it's just the attack changes if it procs. Hello, Ambusher. Okay, so the constant is that black people are always oppressed. That's what I was saying. That has not changed. Now, at a certain point in American history, Italian people were oppressed. That's not true anymore. But at the time, they were seen as closer to black than white. And you see how these pillars remain conceptually, white and black. If you look close enough at whiteness or blackness, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't have a genetic basis. It doesn't have really a basis in anything measurable. People in every generation have tried to find the measurable characteristics of race and have failed. Because race is not a biological phenomenon, it's a cultural one. And who is white and who is black is very complicated to figure out. You know, there's the famous one-drop rule in the United States history, that if you have 1 drop of black blood, that makes you black. Why isn't it the other way around as well? Why isn't it that if you have 1 drop of white blood, it makes you white? It's because of white supremacy. If you think a little bit about that, there's like bloodline purity stuff happening in that law. So these pillars of white and black have not changed. It's just a lot of ethnic groups' situations have changed as they've become differently aligned with whiteness or blackness. If that makes sense. So my example earlier, Italian folks used to be seen as more black than white, and they were discriminated against. In time, their situation in the United States changed. New immigrant populations came in, took their place at the bottom of the pole. They began to get more property, more land, and all of a sudden, Italians became less discriminated against as they were beginning to be seen as white. And these days, now, in 2021, Italian people are functionally white people. So these relationships can change, but the structure of racism does not change, even as these specifics are changing. You almost milled yourself? True, true. Look at that full-ass hand. So if we claw machine this turn, we will mill ourselves. Let's keep that in mind. Bad claw machine anyway. We'll probably Gnome Chomsky. And Bassi? Gnome Bassi. No, because the gnome just dies to this, and then the 1/1 kills the shield. Maybe we do Crab Rider? Crab Rider and Scoundrel? Crab Rider and Bassi? There we go. That's good enough. Your over-focus on white versus black as pillars is unsatisfying. It's just it's simply the theoretical structure of how it works, and I was not aware of this until I read that book, Racecraft. But the Field sisters who write Racecraft take a very rigorous, theoretical, social scientific approach to the issue, and are not just looking at how people self-identify, and are not just looking at how people understand race, but they're looking at the material conditions that generate race and how it gets propagated, and how we operate within this perpetually shifting understanding of it. It's really complex. An oversight? So it might be unsatisfying, but it's social scientifically accurate. And again, I'll repeat that Native Americans and Hispanic people were more or less seen as variations on black, and that's why they have been so heavily oppressed. Native Americans, in some ways, even more than black folks in this country. So it's true that the Native American genocide happened before what I call the invention of race. That was a colonialist genocide that it didn't even see the Native American people as human. But then after the rise of race in the United States, they got co-opted into this dynamic. Frank says, one way of putting this is that oppressors can be more multicultural than they used to be able to be, but look at who is still more often oppressed. Your question seems to me to be about how racism and class are related. Yeah. Yeah, so when I talk about white supremacy, I don't mean that only white people can do it. That's not at all what I mean. I mean that this is a social structure that it exists beyond any individual. White people tend to propagate it, but white supremacy was propagated by, politicians like Barack Obama as well. By virtue of his social position. Not really virtue, I guess that's the wrong word for it. By vice. What's the most common trait of all oppressed people? Poverty. Yeah. It's usually the oppressors who get to decide what the trait is that they use to exclude. Without aiming for an end, or without even saying how we'll know when things are equal, then we are saying that different groups should have different benefits in perpetuity. And those groups' benefits are constantly changing, as we now sort of agree on. Benefits, I wonder about the usage of that word, because, let's say reparations for slavery. Reparations for slavery is not really a benefit. It's paying back just a fraction of what was stolen. You know, affirmative action in job hiring processes, I don't know if I would call that a benefit. I would call that more of an attempt to equalize the playing field just a little bit. Can you talk more about the Native American and Black resemblance? Sure, and you know, I'm no expert on this. But if you... I highly recommend everyone to read the books of Toni Morrison. If you read some of the novels of Toni Morrison, she's writing a lot about slavery and post-slavery times in the United States. And she writes, excellent books. Just really incredible books. Incredible thematically, incredible in the way that she uses language. And she's writing about black folks primarily, but the way that she writes about Native Americans is also very interesting, because there's, even though the cultures are different and mostly kept separate, there's a lot of solidarity between black folks and Native Americans. Sometimes it's like her black characters might like find refuge in a Native American community for a while. There's a lot of intermarrying historically between black folks and Native American folks. You know, what the oppressing class tends to do to the oppressed is to ghettoize them, to segregate them, put them all in the same place, cut off the resources to that place, and let them suffer in squalor. So the ghettos in United States cities post-slavery are an example of that. But the United States has, in a very similar way, ghettoized the Native American communities by saying, okay, we've taken all of your land away, all of this land that, you know, was your historical, traditional place of making a living. And we're gonna give you one little spit of it. We're gonna give you one little piece of it, and that's these Native American reservations. Yeah, other than black folks in the United States, Native American folks have had the worst circumstances in terms of being oppressed. And I think that a big part of this is because there's a sort of a repression of a wrong that was done. You know, we stole African people from their land and treated them as property for generations. We completely wiped out and genocided the native populations. These enormous sins in the United States' history hang over us, but we refuse to acknowledge them. And I think that's part of why discrimination is most feverish and violent and heavy against these particular peoples. But I'm sure there's a lot more to be said about that topic. Again, I've always felt like Toni Morrison writes about it in an interesting way. The reason I set the dagger face there is I just wanted to check for Noble Sack, just to make sure. Regardless of your background, as long as your social status is a certain well-defined one, you'll be the target of oppression. If you want to know what equality means, you have to ask those who have been excluded. Yeah, also ask them if they think that things have gotten better in the last 20 years. Because there's this assumption that, again, that white liberals tend to almost universally have, which is that things are getting better and better and better all the time for race and gender and all that. But ask some oppressed people, some marginalized people, some excluded people, if they feel like things are getting better all the time. And you might learn something. In my experience, the answer tends to be no. Things are better on the surface. Things are more polite and nice now on the surface. It's different than things getting better. Three, 6, 7. Alright, we could do stuff. We could do stuff here. Oh, you know what? No, this is fine. I was thinking we could have given the buff to this, but it doesn't exactly work with how we wanted to do the turn, so that's good. He has a great short story as well, Recitative. I don't know this story. Yeah, I read a few of her books. Really, really amazing. I read Beloved first. That's an ass-kicker of a book. Racism always takes for granted the objective reality of race, as just defined, so it is important to register their distinctness. The shorthand transforms racism, something an aggressor does, into race, something the target is, in a sleight of hand that is easy to miss. I want to call back to the comment earlier about people feeling oppressed. This is one example of transforming racism, something the aggressor does, into race, something the target is. It's not about the target feeling oppressed, it's about something that is aggressively happening to them. Consider the statement, Black Southerners were segregated because of their skin color. A perfectly natural sentence to the ears of most Americans who tend to overlook its weird causality, but in that sentence, segregation disappears as the doing of segregationists, and then in a puff of smoke, poof, reappears as a trait of only one part of the segregated whole. Toni Morrison wrote a book called Beloved that I recommend. Any book that she's written, I recommend. And the book that Frank is quoting from is Racecraft, which I linked earlier, and I can link again. It's just a PDF of it here. Okay. Da, 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 da. I asked my gay black brother if things have gotten any better, and he said that in many cases things have gotten worse as people have gotten better at hiding their prejudices. Yeah. Arguably, things were better for racial politics in the United States 40, 50 years ago with the Black Panther Party. All of these issues with race were out in the open and gaining traction. The leaders of that movement got assassinated, the movement fizzled out, and ever since then, our racial politics have mostly been about I don't know, it's been identity politics ever since then, not like substantial, structural, collective action politics. Okay. Should have set the dagger into there. Slight mistake. Well, we got the board. We'll see where it gets us. Yes, people tend to focus on the oppressed rather than the oppressors. The magic trick is indeed uncanny, but that does not change the fact that said trick is applied everywhere. There's a fundamental and bigger problem here than just race. It's the oppression of human beings by other human beings based on arbitrary criteria. Yeah, sure, so the problem is oppression, and race is a subset of that. And there's all sorts of forms of oppression. And those different forms of oppression do function differently, so we have to grapple with each of them on their own terms. So, you know, definitely we need to be having these conversations about what race and racism actually are in order to move the needle in any way, shape, or form. 3 for 5, 6, 7. We're gonna have to use this just to start to draw stuff. Assassinate. Galloping Savior, okay. We go there, and we go there, and we go there. Okay. Interesting hand we got here. And I agree that, you know, focusing on the oppressed and getting tunnel vision in that way, Chaos, can lead to not really seeing the oppressor and not really zeroing in on how that works, which is why I was so insistent in the conversation yesterday, to the point of being a little bit rude about it. On, like, not letting whiteness out of the conversation as a factor. Because I think we need to turn our gaze to the oppressor and start to understand what's going on and how to combat that. But, as you say, there are all sorts of different forms of oppression, and white supremacy functions in a different way than patriarchy, even though they, like, shake hands sometimes and they can team up to work together, but... Likewise, colonialism is a separate but related thing, and they all have different structures and they function differently. It takes working under class solidarity to pull back the veil, see the trick, and reverse the structure of capitalism that makes it. Yeah, that's hard. Yeah, humanity. I've found myself using the word humane a lot when people are presenting arguments about how the world should be. Like, is that really humane? And I think it's a useful question to pose, because it's true that we're still, like, so many people are still fighting for their, like, fundamental right of being seen as a human and treated as such. You know, as far as what human rights are, there's much debate about that. And, we gotta make sure to fight for our position in that debate. A universalism to ground our shared struggle. And that's why the slogan last summer was Black Lives Matter and not People of Color Lives Matter, or whatever. The plight of blackness was that universalism that we're talking about here. And anyone who said at the time, you know, what about, you know, I'm Mexican, what about me? You know, do white lives not matter? What about Asian lives? They're kind of missing the point of that universalism, you know, to point at every single group that gets oppressed every single time would be impossible. And that's that sort of postmodernism that we were also talking about yesterday, that kind of clouds the issues a little bit. But since, you know, because of everything I talked about, the theoretical structure of racism, black people getting shit on again and again and again because of how the entire concept of race is set up, it makes a lot of sense that that movement would be a black-centered movement, because if you can get people to believe that Black Lives Matter, then they will also believe that all lives matter. So you don't have to say instead all lives matter. Black Lives Matter is that particular that becomes a universal signifier. So it kind of gets around particularism, and it also gets around vulgar universalism of just treating everybody equally, you know? Do we kill this? Could just dagger, face, and... I don't know. Blade Master. Maybe we should kill it. Okay, that works. Ideas of the 1700s scientists that defined humanity as only European and only Central European and only rich Central Europeans still exists, right? Yeah. People still think the Constitution is so sacred here, even though it's founded on all sorts of gross ideas that we're about at the point we should reject those ideas. Double assassinate hand. I use vulgar in that context to mean reductive. Reductive universalism is what I meant. That's like a weird academic term I picked up somewhere or another. Vulgar in that context. Morning, Geekbry. Geekbry, were you talking about hip-hop the other day, and did you post the little Dicky video in my chat? I'm trying to remember who posted it. The Constitution, isn't that the MacGuffin for those Nicolas Cage movies? Right, that's... That should be our main touchstone for the Constitution, I agree. It wasn't even, it was the Declaration of Independence, it's a different thing. We could assassinate that. Let's see what's in here. Oh, great. Well, we do have a pirate. Still crap, though. It's still really bad. Ugh. Oh, God. God damn it. I had to process what that card was that I got and realize that it was useful. Didn't have time to play the 3-drop. Oops. Everyone knows the Constitution's where you put your points if you want your HP to be high, you dolts. Very good. I hope your brother's doing alright, Robopop. It ain't easy for a black gay man out there. As I've caught many glimpses of dating a black gay person. The Candyman movie was pretty interesting. It didn't exactly nail what it was going for, but there were a lot of interesting ideas in it. One of the ideas that I really liked is that that movie was talking about how white supremacy moves through art communities, which is something that I've experienced firsthand many times in the theater community. I've talked about this before. In Candyman, it's like fine art. It's like painting communities. So we'll do this and start to try to draw, because we're gonna need some cards, right? He's doing okay. I'm glad to hear it. And there's this motif through the movie where, the, like, gallery people who have power over whether these folks' work goes up or not, or what, you know, what have you. 5, 9, 10, 11... I actually... Yeah, this is fine. I know they're gonna AoE me. I kind of intended to assassinate this, but I ran out of mana, oops. The people who, like, the gallery folks and etc., keep kind of getting their claws into these stories of black trauma that are presented to them by the artists who are, like, the main characters. This artist is kind of co-opting the story of a community and the trauma that keeps happening, the violence that keeps happening in the community, and these art gallery folks are, like, trying to, like, ooh, that story plays, ooh, it's garish, it's, you know, and... There's one quote from the movie I liked very much. Somebody was telling the story of, a long time ago, there was a black painter, who would go around and paint portraits of white folks. He got accused by a white woman of rape and then hunted down and killed. The person telling the story in the movie says, they like what we make, they just don't like us. That stuck with me as something very true. The, like, theft and co-opting of black art is another universal of the structure of white supremacy. And it keeps happening over and over and over and over again. You could point to any number of things. You could point to jazz, you could point to whatever. But that's part of why diversity is not the answer, the way that liberal folks think it is. Because black folks can be given a platform, can be prodded out for their diversity, and their stories can be fetishized, exploited, stolen, declawed. And it doesn't really move the needle on oppression. It just sort of gives an aesthetic of progressiveness. I see this all the time in the theater community. And film as well. Pretty commonplace right now. That's not a bad hand. The gnome might be useful against Hunter. Candyman was pretty mediocre. Yeah, I found it pretty hit or miss. But a lot of interesting ideas in it. And they were, like, being pretty ambitious with the themes, and I appreciate that. Yeah, the Ysera sure did us in, didn't it? I only provide forgiveness via tithing. That's the way to do it. Oh, what is it, what did they call it? Like allowances? There was this thing in the Catholic Church where they would, like, give you little slips that if you paid money, it would say that your sins were forgiven. What were they called? What an amazing practice. Your immense immensity. Is universality fleeting or impossible? Laclau claims that true political universality is impossible. However, for Laclau, this does not mean that we should abandon any attempted political universality, as some post-structuralists might urge. Instead, Laclau argues that leftists have to include this certain failure to achieve universality in their strategies. Whereas Zizek argues it's possible but fleeting. Very interesting. Oh, shoot. Sorry, opponent. I roped by accident. That was a mistake. I was reading interesting things. Yeah, leftists are pretty divided on these questions. So, you know, we here don't have the answer for you exactly in terms of what we should be striving for, but we have some vague ideas that are at least a good start. Could coin out the Ticketmaster. Probably want to get this out as soon as possible. Tithe to the Fun Dungeon org. It's the only route to forgiveness. True, if you want to be forgiven of your sins, chat, give me money. Free Amazon Prime. Free Amazon Prime sub. Indulgences, that's the one. Indulgences. Oh, did I say allowances? Just give us half of it. 2, 4, trade here. It is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter heaven. So place the burden of wealth on Blobby. Amen, -1. Amen! Amen. What didn't quite hit the mark? 3... Have you tried to bribe St. Peter and it failed? Everybody knows that if you fail to bribe St. Peter, he will shoot crossbow arrows at you at the Heavenly Gates. This has been established. It's Blobby canon. Tamo Kato! Tamakato, I was inspired by your joke yesterday, and I ended the stream by drawing a chart to help explain an idea. I was just replicating a Lacanian chart. You missed the chart, it's true. Idea cartography. I dreamt I was a cosmonaut of the space between our chair. And I was a cartographer of the tangles in your hair. Yeah, actual Bible verse, and a very good one. Jesus is all about shitting on income inequality. One blob's goo is another blob's goo. Sounds good to me. Do we have to kill this? I don't know if we have to kill that. We have to kill it soon. Crossbows is my proposal for how to disseminate vaccines in the US. Imagine a bunch of imagine a bunch of doctors running around with crossbows in the streets, trying to tag people. Hey, -1 Catholic school buddies, I've been there. My Catholic school treated me like shit. I left it after the 2nd grade. That's true, I did. I also recited Cavafis. Which I must say is a huge conquest, as I'm pretty sure you are the only one to have recited Ithaca in full on Twitch. Hey! You never know for sure, but it's very possible. All sorts of fresh, untrodden terrain happens on Blobby's channel. If you have butt eyes to see and ears to hear. Butt eyes. Butt eyes. 3 for 5. I'm gonna win big. We could find Warlock Tap. We could just shenanigans, KO any card draw they use. If we don't get the Warlock Tap, Yoink is pretty bad, but... Mystery Choice is scary. Let's try to get the Warlock Tap. Awkward pause. We don't take 8 here, I'm pretty sure. Okay. So does anyone know what racism is like in other countries, especially non-Western countries like in the Middle East or China or Russia or Central Africa, etc.? What is the dynamic like in those countries? It's different everywhere, although because we're in a globalist era, the structure of race in the United States has affected and influenced the structure of race everywhere. So in all countries now, we talk about white and black the way that we do in the United States, although the ethnic makeup of each country has its own unique history of violence. And so understand that I am both specifically talking from a US-centric perspective, but also saying things that can be abstracted. Oh. Oh dear. Heals? What is this? Oh yeah, we gotta kill that for 100% sure. We keep this to kill a weapon? No, I think we gotta go kinda hard here. Explanatory chart, a point reward. I was thinking I might just do it whenever I feel like it's necessary, but I'll think about it. I feel like a pretty good writing prompt would be a wealthy cabal of Christian billionaires venturing to selectively breed microscopic camels that can pass through the eyes of needles with great ease, thereby semantically securing their entry into heaven. This is a very funny joke, negative one. And it also speaks to an interesting phenomenon in the last several decades of, like, Christian contemporary culture. Scientism has become the dominant mode of understanding the world. And a lot of people would say that seems to clash with a lot of Christian ideas, but what has been happening is Christians have been co-opting, like, very literal-minded science into their myths and their narratives, and trying to prove via science that certain things could have happened the way it's described in the Bible or whatever, which I think, personally, is a really wrong-headed way to approach the Bible, because it's just, you know, a sacred text and should be treated either as poetry or as a sacred text and not a scientific document. I think it's insane to treat it as a scientific document, but negative one's kind of a narrative that he's drawing out about Christian billionaires trying to prove that they could get into heaven by breeding tiny camels is not so far off the truth. It's what makes it especially funny to me. Western imperialism is historically global, but every locality has their own history too, of course. Yeah, certain ideas have been imposed on the entire world, but that doesn't erase the ideas that had existed beforehand. They just interface with each other and get all gnarly. 4, 7, 9, 10, 14. Okay. Good game, Hunter. But it is the hunter who hath been hunted. Like opponent did not correctly realize that Peasant was stronger than a 6-4 in that situation. Tell you what, chat, I wasn't sure whether to draft Peasant over the Elven Archer. I ended up picking the Peasant, and it has been cleaning up for me this run. To be fair, we haven't been facing classes with a ping for a hero power, but if you manage to dodge those classes, Peasant is very good. I'm talking from a US perspective, but it applies everywhere in the world because America. Well, yeah, honestly, because America. Not because America is the best and a trendsetter, but because America has has like taken a dump on the entire world and rubbed people's face in the shit. Oh yeah, because America. I treat the New Testament as an early communist manifesto. There is absolutely a communist reading of the New Testament, 100%. Maybe that's why Christians are so bad at interpreting it. Contemporary Christians. Because if you properly interpreted Jesus' teachings, they would have to change their lives entirely. Which is what Jesus tells everyone explicitly, straight up. Whenever he meets someone, he's like, hey, if you're gonna follow me, you're gonna have to change your life entirely. And we've kind of, repressed that part of the teaching. Give away everything that you have and follow me, he says. It's right there. It takes so much disavowal. Yeah, disavowal is the process by which you can repress certain things that your ideological framework is not ready to handle in order to keep your mindset consistent. Disavowal is that process. And contemporary Christians disavow so much about Christianity and the Bible and Jesus' teachings in order to keep their prosperity gospel mindset intact. This is my primary critique of Christianity in the modern era. Hichi, hello, good morning. Thank you for saying that it's a nice run. I think it's very nice as well. I thought this would be kind of a mediocre deck, and apparently I'm wrong. Like, I don't really know how or why we're doing so well. We're just managing to put enough early pressure on that they can't kill us before we run out of stuff. The Nude Testament. There's a lot of nudity in the Bible, it's true. Y'all read the story of Bathsheba? That's a steamy one. Y'all, there's smut poetry in the Bible. For real. There's like actual smut in the Bible. It's great. It's Song of Solomon. Sexy, sexy stuff. And if it's not clear, I'm genuinely not joking. Okay, we can clear this. We can actually do it. It's expensive, but we can do it. I don't want them getting the buffs. Bonk, 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 bonk. Do you think you might be 11-1 now if you don't misplay when you didn't play the 3-drop pirate in time? I have disavowed that moment, so you would know better than me, Revid. I have no memory whatsoever of whether we would have been in a more winning position. I remember feeling like I was losing pretty bad. That was against the Hunter, right? You can jump all the way back to Love Thy Neighbor, and it's still way too much for them. Yeah, do not, how does the wording go? Don't, talk shit about the plank in your neighbor's eye. Sorry, don't talk shit about the speck in your neighbor's eye without realizing the plank in your own. That's a big one that gets completely ignored. because in my experience, contemporary Christians are pretty damn judgmental. We do this, and we do this, and if this goes into the 4-4, that's fine. If it takes the value trade into the 1-2 and then heals, we can kill with the dirigible. That's the plan. Bring! Dark Guru coming in with a sub! 9 months! Wow, 9 months, Dark Guru. Very much thank you. I love the wood in your eye. Thank you! Nobody ever compliments the plank in my dang eye. People just say, you're biased, Blobby. Dark Guru, thanks so much for the sub, I appreciate it. Donkey emissions, yeah, true. Splinter and log. I mean, all this shit is translated so many times over. Maybe we're only 10-2 because we misplayed. Our previous opponent's trajectory would have cleaned the floor with us, but because we lost a game and moved to a different bracket and got to re-roll opponents, we were cleaning house. You never quite can tell. That's why you don't time travel to change the past, chat. You don't do it. Rose Thorns! Yo! What you been up to? Welcome back. Well played. Thank you, Chaos. How has life been treating you, Rose Thorns? It's good to see you. Geek Bri, I told you to stop calling me Mr. I'm my own grandpa. It's getting really uncomfortable. My dead best friend was named Mr. I'm my own grandpa, so it's triggering. 3, 4, 5. Okay. I'll marinate you. The Octobot has been pretty good for us. My question is, what do we kill here? If we want to be able to assassinate, we should kill the cheesemonger. But I think it's just overall better to kill the 5-5 here, so let's do that. We should be able to clean this up. Hopefully they don't play like a big-ass taunt or something. Honor thy Facebook and thy Twitter. I reject these teachings. I've been doing 4 months of law coursework over the last 2 weeks. Oh my god, Rose Thorns. And you didn't make time for Blobby? Good for you for being responsible. I hope you're making headway, because that sounds rough. What are you working towards, if you feel like sharing? These both represent 2 draws. This happens faster, but we're guaranteed a spell. I guess I'm taking Swindle. Time to get the peasant down here. It seems like a pretty good situation. If they can't touch it, we start to draw. Becoming a barrister is the end goal, but I'm still a long ways away. I'm in my second year of UK college, so I still have like 12 years to go! That's a lot of dang education. Thou shalt not steal from mega corporations. Thou shalt not put your fleshy bits in other people's fleshy bits until you have signed a legally binding contract. Hey, Top Gun. By the way, chat, just wanted to mention, people are under the impression that certain other oppressive countries propagandize their population, but the United States doesn't really do that. That's because if propaganda's working on you, you don't realize it. Top Gun? US military propaganda. Fun movie, also. But Top Gun was really the inception of a very active relationship between the Pentagon and Hollywood. Basically, anytime Hollywood wants to make a film that is about the military, using military resources or knowledge, or information, or equipment, or anything, they have to go through the Pentagon. The Pentagon has to approve. They can request rewrites, all that stuff. Captain Marvel is the big recent example of Air Force propaganda. Terrible movie, also. Being propaganda doesn't necessarily mean your movie's bad. In case of Captain Marvel, yeah, it does. Etton's a good draw. Let's go! I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I'm proud to... the man who died to give that life to me, and I'll simply stand up next to you. I forget how the rest of the song. Wait, something. And blah 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 blah. God bless the USA. Anyway, terrible song as well. Hollywood ain't shit. Yeah, I knew we had all of our spells in hand, but you gotta play it anyway.
Hands off my dice.
We've kind of lost our board presence here. We got a lot of tricks in our hand, but it's kind of the same trick over and over, actually. Peasant pops off again. Yeah, what's with this peasant? This peasant has been not skipping leg day. Probably because he's, you know, forced to work all daylight hours on a farm in order to pay patronage to some sort of what do they call them? The 6 damage now. I'm thinking we probably want to get the Fester route down. How are we feeling about that? Actually, alternately, Assassinate Basilisk Dirigible is really strong. I think I like that better, actually. Because we can clear this pretty efficiently as well. Save the Wicked Stabs Fester Root play for next turn, maybe. They're still at 24 health. My god, what have they been doing to heal? The Apple Bomb, I guess? The Void Shard? Jeez. Circus Medic? But that one was corrupted, I think. The Blue Bee Bucks redeem. Trying not to get DMCA'd, and if goddamn... Proud to be an American is what gets me kicked off Twitch? I refuse to let that be the case. Do you think Wonder Woman is a propaganda film? Yeah. Yeah, a completely inept one, but yeah. Well, I'm thinking more of the sequel because, well, they both are. Also propaganda surrounding the Israeli-Palestinian conflict with the hiring of Gal Gadot as the spokesperson for the franchise. I saw it's a pretty distressing and also funny image of that scene in Wonder Woman 84 where she's like chasing some bad guys in trucks and she's like swooping through the air somehow with her lasso. I saw a really dark meme where it was her swooping through the air in the background, and in the foreground were two Palestinian kids running away. Ah, they had the Plague of Death. The Plague. We could have gotten one more draw if we played this first, but then we lose the Divine Shield and Taunt, and I don't think that's worth it. We can play this and get more draw next turn. China released a massive propaganda movie called Wolf Warrior. Oh yeah, I know about Wolf Warrior. Western reviewers called it out for being exactly that, as if it's a thing that Western movies don't do. Right, this is the double standard in our understanding of China, is that so often people in the United States are like, look at this thing China's doing, it's so fucked up. It's exactly the same thing that the United States has been doing for so long. Sometimes it's, you know, a uniquely Chinese thing, but usually not. Okay, we are out of spells, right? Thanks for showing up, buddy. Right on time. Yeah, Wolf Warrior made bank, if I recall correctly. That made a ton of money. Yeah, that's, thank you for doing that work, Rose Thorns. As Chaos says, well done, and we need more like you. I echo those sentiments. I'm gonna assassinate the hell out of that. This kinda needs to die too, but how urgently does it need to die? I'll tell you what we can do. We can trade. Ooh. Doesn't exactly work, does it? Probably should have sent the dagger phase too. I don't know if that was the right play. I hate using up the Wicked Stab. Yeah! Final boss, chat! Final boss! We need Ticketmaster to get spells. Oh yeah, Robopop, that's actually a really good point. If we ever run out of spells, we can rely on Ticketmaster. That's a big-brained idea right there. The other side of that coin is that Ticketmaster sort of makes the Primordial Protector worse. In some cases. Can we get there, chat? Can we do it? Remember, opponent could have killed peasant instead of the 3-3 if they wanted. Tomo is our resident peasant tracker. Tomo is our peasant dispenser. I'm actually gonna coin the Octobot here. Could be a mistake. But it might lock them from certain plays. Kinda unfair to blame it all on one woman? Well, she is a Wonder Woman, though. No, I'm not blaming it all on her. I'm just saying her hiring is a key publicity component of the propaganda of that movie. The first Wonder Woman had an interesting idea about the god of war operating in the modern world in World War I. There was some interesting stuff there, but then at the end of the day, they just made one really crazy evil Nazi for them to fight against, the, like, Poison Lady. So maybe they didn't stick the landing on that commentary. I generally liked the first Wonder Woman movie. I thought the second one was unbelievably bad. We should be able to maybe buff this and get a frenzy off. Denying 2 draws sure might have gotten the opponent the victory there. Hard to say. Did I watch Tel Aviv on Fire? No, no. No, I got a long list, Chaos. There's a fellow who comes in periodically and is like, hey, did you watch those Canadian dramas I recommended yet? And I'm like, no, I mean, they're still on my list, but there's like a million movies on my list, so... Turns out, this doesn't work, actually. Let's do this. What's the most recent movie we watched as a house? The Cat Returns, I think. The Studio Ghibli movie, The Cat Returns. Peasant at it again! My man! Lift them logs. Actually, let's do this. Let me think for a second. Brain. Glug, 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 glug. We'll have 1 mana left. 1 and 0. So we can actually do this now. Or do this now. This now is better. Yes. No, god damn it, I fucked it up. Wait, and I can't take it back, so this is, god damn it. Okay, Clockwork Giant, maybe I can play this. How many cards do they have? Not enough. I messed this turn up. I did not do what I intended to do, chat. But that's okay. Might get a click cheap giant. Yeah, Jar Dealer plus Argus is what I intended to do, and then I got an order thing confused in my head, and I tried to get an extra greedy discount on the discount. Didn't have enough mana. Messing it up is an understatement. I don't know about that. I think messing it up describes it pretty accurately. It would have been one thing if I, like, did a completely wrong play. Hope he was careful with his recommendations. 90% of Canadian TV is unwatchable. I feel like indie dramas, they seem like they're probably good. Have you watched The Father yet? No, but it's on my list! Just like the Son and the Holy Spirit. I'm looking forward to The Father, though. I want to see Anthony Hopkins act the shit out of that something. That sounds fun to me. 2, 4. Actually, maybe we assassinate? Or just do this and sit. Eh. Again, an imperfect turn. The Clockwork Giant should be coming down very soon now. Could have played it last turn, but I like getting the hand discount off. I did a co-op with Jummy, and I've never made so many misplays in my life. Streaming and playing is not easy by any means. Speak, Robopop. Speak. But people must know how hard this is, what I do. Don't let him get on board. As long as he's not on board, he's dead. Yeah, but that's not always true with Shaman, because they have nice ways to swing in the late game. But I don't intend to let them have the board if possible. We did. We traded Peasant because of my misplay Tamikado, and I wanted to keep it around, but... Also, you know, you don't want to be too precious about things like that. Hard compared to what? Working in mines in India? Oh yeah, there's starving kids in Africa chaos, I know. So you better finish your plate. Well, I would love to kill that. I don't really have a good way to do that right now, so... Kind of play this. Peasant is precious. Peasant had a family. Did this octopus not have a family? Well, it's an octobot, so I guess probably not. What about this conjurer? If you're starving, just rub another job on it. They call that a job. I'm glad you got to co-op with Jummy, though. Jummy is a great co-op partner. those logs were to build a fire for a starving winter village. Well, I've let many other peasants live in the past, and they've probably gathered plenty of logs. Unless some sort of Bug's Life-style mishap happened and all the logs got, you know, dropped into a cliff because of some sort of awkward, intelligent, charismatic, yet mistreated member of the community. Rip to our giant, but no avoiding that. Well, you know, we could have not taunted it. Maybe that would have been better. It would have been an 8-1. Very likely that they have 1 damage to deal. If they don't, they can't really get to it. So I think that might have been a mistake. Getting a foot on the board, yeah. We should be able to generate some cards here. This should stop them up for a while as well. Oh. Chat, I'll tell you what I have learned today. I have learned that Peasant's pretty good a lot of the time. I've also learned that Field Contact's pretty good in a deck with a good amount of battle cries, which ours has a crap ton of battle cries. So. Why are spell discoveries so atrocious? Shadow Clone? Shenanigans? Mystery Choice? What about our Death Rattles? Cost 4 or less. Oh, I don't want to trigger that Death Rattle. That's no good. Mystery Choice. Sprint! Okay, I'll take it. Hey, suddenly our hand doesn't look too shallow after all, huh, chat? Everyone knows that psychic conjurers have to kill their families to become psychic conjurers. Hey, I'm always learning. Oh, Mitchell and Webb. Oh, I forgot about them, yeah. That's one person's... They talk about their hard day at work. One person's a pediatrician who works with dying children. The other's an ice cream taster. Hey, you know, the suffering of others does not invalidate the suffering that is near and dear to us. It's helpful to have a little bit of perspective, though. Overeating in honor of those who can't. Yeah, right? That expression never made sense to me, Dark Guru. It's kind of absurd. Alright, they cleared our junk. Probably gonna go with the Fester route this turn and trade. Pretty straightforward. Could have done Crab Rider and preserved our 2-1, but who cares about that? Octobot? Octobot kinda interesting. Hex is obviously good against this, or whatever that minion that Hexes is. Hearthstone excels at two-word horror stories, explosive sheep. Tabakato, have you seen the trailer for the new movie Lamb? If not, you should check it out. I think it might be up your alley. It's an amazing trailer for a movie called Lamb I've been seeing recently in movie theater. A Kind Children taster. Paint request. The suffering of others as viewed by others. The suffering of others as viewed by others. Okay. It's a little bit big. The suffering of others as viewed by others. Our assassinates are very important in this deck. Oh, but are we doing this though? 4, 6, 8. I feel like we need to hustle a little bit with this damage. Can Octobot and Sprint maybe discount a bunch of things, is what I'm thinking. Finish the run first. Alright, I'll finish the run first. I think that's probably a pretty good idea. Plus I need to think about what the heck I'm gonna draw. Would you rather listen to an Electric Avenue... Oh, would you rather listen to Electric Avenue at low volume constantly, or go to F? I don't know. Would it drive me mad? Or would I get used to it? If I would get used to it, I would take that. But I'm not looking to be driven mad, so... I don't want to be a Mickelson. A trial run? Yeah, I would like a trial run. Yeah, you've done it. There's a website called artflow.ai that translates short descriptions into avatars using AI, kind of similar to what you do for paint requests. Oh, okay, so they're gonna, you know, all the machines are gonna come from my jobs now, I guess. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 15. The machines are coming from my jobs. All of a sudden it's happening to me, it doesn't feel so good. Okay. We're just gonna go in. I have no fear. No fear, no shame. Turns out creativity can be programmed, so watch out. I was reading about, algorithmically generated screenplays a while ago, and, like, how shit they all are. Even though the technology should be there to replicate creativity, turns out there's a little something that can't be replicated. A little panache. A little surplus. I guess damn. I guess I would maybe take Def. Because I don't know for sure if I would be able to not go insane. Uh-oh. And not knowing whether I'm gonna go insane or not, that seems like it would drive me insane. Processing. Nah, my berserker. My berserker. 12 wins with a kind of a weirdly mediocre rogue deck. At least I thought it was. Maybe I've got something to learn here as well. Export. Alright, we did it, chat, so we'll do another draft very soon, but before we get to that, who was the MVP of the deck? Shop Smart, Shop Blobmart. Tinnitus is a manageable issue, but if it's like a song, I feel like that would wean its way into my head. If it's like Tinnitus, I would take that, I guess. Alright, so let's see what we got here. Jar Dealer, negligible. Oh, it's gotta be Peasant, right? Right? I mean, come on. I can't play a game without my glasses. I just finished a run. You have to wait till I do the draft. Draft without glasses? Okay, I guess I could draft without glasses. It's gotta be Peasant, right? Yeah, of course. The Peasant dispenser wants Peasant. Deep Run was very, very good for us. Octobot was very good for us. Wicked Stab was very, very good for us. Field Contact was quite good as well. But Field Contact, I don't think even drew as many as Peasant. The Assassinates were important. Yeah, honestly, this deck crashes and burns if it's not for all that card draw we got out of that fellow. Somehow, Peasant is not normally that good, I think. But alright, first run of the day, 12 wins. Because we were talking about white supremacy, you know that, right, chat? Fine.